That's right, today we are doing a build guide for Noelle and her...
Sea Dragons roar!
I mean, just look at her. She's obviously dragon royalty. Now, all joking aside, let's go over how to best build Jinhsi. So to start off, Jinhsi is an awesome burst DPS unit. Honestly, she works really well with other units that can do coordinated attacks. She's a ton of fun to play, especially when you get her Forte meter up and you can start activating some of her special skills. So in order to build Jinhsi, you're going to have to do a little bit of farming. So I'm at level 70 with her, and what you're going to need for Ascension materials is Elegy Tacit Cores, and you're going to get these from fighting the Morning Ix a bunch of times. Next up, you're going to need a bunch of Long's Pearls, and they're all over Mount Firmament, but there's a really good spot right around here on the map where there's a bunch that actually grow around this area. And last but not least, you're going to need a bunch of Howler Cores. You should have these just from playing the game. Skill tree wise, you're going to need the Wave-Worn Residues, you're going to need some Howler Cores, and the new material, the Sentinel's Dagger. Now you get these from doing the weekly boss fight against Jue in Mount Firmament. Now let's dive into her skills and the skill tree, and I have to say the Forte Circuit is the most important node on this tree. Now to simply break it down, you want to have her in incandescence. Essentially, her Forte meter is going to be up to 50 stacks of incandescence, and that's going to dictate how much damage she does when she does her 4-stage attack in her Forte Circuit. Now, if you hold off on using the stage 4 attack, you can in fact turn all of her normal attacks into heavy attacks, though I will say it's not worth the damage loss you're going to take by switching up the rotation. Now, one thing to note, when you are in Incarnation or Incandescence, everything scales off of skill damage. Now, outside of her Forte Circuit, her Resonance skill is just a forward dash that inflicts Spectro damage. But when you do have Overflowing Radiance, this is how you do your 4-stage attack and summon Incarnation. Now, her Resonance Liberation is very straightforward. She summons Jue to do a nuke of damage on top of the enemy. And obviously, the animation looks so damn sick. And that's how I would prioritize her skill tree: Forte Circuit, Resonance skill, Resonance Liberation. Now, I would say make sure to grab this inherent skill node, Radiant Surge. 20% damage increase to Spectro damage is no joke. I would also say grab Long's Halo, as that's a 50% increase to the intro skill, though that would be one of the later pieces I would upgrade. Now, with the skill tree out of the way, let's talk about her best weapons. Now, the first and most obvious is going to be her best in slot, the Aegis of Harvest. This is a huge crit rate stat stick and has a perk designed just for her kit. The 24% resonance skill damage boost is absolutely next level, and I don't think many weapons are going to be on par with this one. Now, if you're saving for Changli and you can't really pull on the weapon banner, and you did get Verdant Summit, this is an awesome choice as well. It's a huge crit damage stat stick. You also get the damage attribute bonus, but the heavy attack's not really going to apply to her. Overall, if you have Jian though and you have this weapon, you might as well try it on her. I think the average number is like 20% less damage over her best in slot, but honestly, she nukes so much damage, it doesn't even matter. So I'd consider trying it out. She's actually pretty good with it. Now, if you are a light spender and you have bought the Battle Pass, I would 100% consider Autumn Trace. It's a crit rate stat stick, just like her best in slot. You are missing out on the bonus perks, but you still get a good amount of attack damage increase. I would definitely consider this weapon if you have it. Now, this next recommendation is not the best, but it's still overall pretty damn good. I would say the Lustrous Razor. It's a bunch of attack percent damage. That's great. You get Resonance Liberation damage. That's also pretty good. Not her best, but definitely a good option, especially if you have nothing else. There really aren't too many 4-stars that are worth having outside of Autumn Trace for Broadblade, so I'd consider this weapon as well. Now it's time to talk about echoes, and the most obvious being Jue, which just so happens to be her best in slot for cost echo. Now, for her best echo set, I have to go with Celestial Light. The 2-piece is going to give you a boost to spectral damage, and the 5-piece is going to give you a boost to spectral damage when you use your intro skill. And I think that works really well with this node here, the Converged Flash, which gives you another 50% increase to the base damage of the intro skill. And overall, I think this works really well with her kit. Now, the reason why you want to use Jue is the Echo skill. This pairs perfectly with Jinhsi and her kit. Whenever you summon Jue, there's going to be a bunch of spectral damage output, but the really cool part is that when you perform your resonance skill, you're going to be able to do spectral damage over time. Now for your 3-cost echoes, I'd focus on spectral damage and energy regen. I would say for the 1 cost, obviously attack percentage, try to get crit rate, crit damage, resonance liberation, resonance skill damage. Those are all really good substats. Now you can try a 2-2 with Lingering Tunes, but I think overall the Celestial Light set is a better fit for Jinhsi's kit. Now it's time to talk about Jinhsi's best teams and rotations, and personally I'm going to say that Yuan Wu and Verena are an amazing team for her. Mortefi is also very, very good, and the team that I'm using in tower is Jinhsi, Yuan Wu, and Baizha, and that works really well. Now, one of the most important things you need to consider when building a team around Jinhsi is how are you going to build her incandescent stacks. And one of the best ways to do that is with off-field damage or coordinated attacks. That's why when you use someone like Mortefi and you use his ultimate, that you can actually bring Jinhsi out and then you have her bar already partially filled because she's doing attacks while also having Mortefi's attacks come over the top at the same time. And this is the most efficient way in order to build up those stacks and build up her Forte meter to do optimal damage. Now, one of the better units to use is Yinlin. Now, I do not have her, but if you do, I would highly consider putting her on this team. You do have to manage 2 kind of main DPS, but if you really look at it, Yinlin can feed those incandescent stacks faster than almost any other unit in the game. Now, I think using Yuan Wu or Papa Smacks is even easier because once you put down his skill, you can do off-field electro damage, which allows her to build up her stacks even faster. This might be one of the better ways to increase her Forte meter. But again, Verena also allows for coordinated attacks when you use her ultimate, right? So there's a myriad of different ways to build up that meter and do the most potential damage that you can. The short answer is just make sure your teammates can do coordinated attacks. That way she can fill her meter faster and she can output the most amount of damage possible. Now it's time for those of you that believe Jinhsi just wasn't strong enough already. Let's talk about her resonance chain. Now node number 1 is going to be pretty damn good. This first node will give her essentially an 80% buff to Illuminous Epiphany, and that's a huge part of her kit. Now her second node is probably the best one in her kit. Essentially, she gets a full incandescence bar. Her Forte meter is full anytime she's off the field for 4 seconds. That means she doesn't have to rely on her teammates for coordinated attacks to build that meter. Her third node gives her a 50% attack increase. That's a pretty solid number for her kit. Her fourth node's pretty good too. It allows her to buff her teammates' attribute damage by 20% for 20 seconds. Her fifth node makes her even more nuclear by giving her a 120% increase to the damage multiplier of her Resonance Liberation. And her sixth and final node gives her a 45% increase to her damage multiplier for her Resonance skill, as well as a 45% damage increase to Incandescence. Now, all of those nodes are great, but if you are a high spender, I would say the second node would be a good one to stop at, as that's really going to change her playstyle and remove that dependency on her teammates. Now, while I am free to play, I will say you really don't need more than RC0. Honestly, if you farm your echoes and you get some good rolls, she's already a very broken unit, but if you are a spender and you want to enjoy the game your way, she can definitely become even more cracked. Now, if you've played the story, you know just how pivotal of a character Jinhsi is, and the fact that she's the resonator for Jue really makes her feel like an Archon level unit, and I think that alone is a reason that you should be pulling on her and building her. Now, if you're watching this guide and you're undecided on whether to go for her or Changli, I can't tell you what to do there because they're both awesome units. What I can say is that Jinhsi is definitely worth it, and I have no regrets, but I won't be able to tell you which one to pull. Now, with all that being said and done, thank you so much for watching. That's going to wrap up my guide on how to build Jinhsi, or the Dragon Royalty as I like to call her. If you enjoyed the content, consider dropping a thumbs up, because a like really helps the channel and it helps YouTube know that you're enjoying my content. Comment down below, are you pulling on Jinhsi? Did you get her? Did you miss? I want to hear about it in the comments below. Let me know if you're building her and let me know if you got lucky. And as always, please remember to subscribe. I'm currently at 500. I'm on my way to 1,000, and I plan on going 10,000 and beyond. So your subscription would really help. And on that note, thank you so much again, and I'll see you on the next one.